Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 2nd organizational meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. We're going to begin our meeting today with an invocation from Reverend Brandon Helton, Piney Grove Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Woodbury. Pastor Helton, please come forward. Appreciate you coming back. By the way, he happens to be our county manager's pastor, so a little extra arm twisting. Thank you for being here.
Wonderful incentive. Good afternoon. Would you all bow your heads in a word of prayer?
Let me ask everyone to stand if they're able. My fault. Thank you.
Let us pray. Most gracious God, our Father, we come before you today in this joyous season with gratitude for yet another gathering of leaders and community servants. Thank you for the opportunity you have provided to guide and shape the future of our community through the work of our Board of Commissioners and Forsyth County government leaders. Lord, as this board meets to conduct business, we pray for unity, integrity, and clarity. Guide every decision and discussion so that they may be emblematic of your character, reflecting justice and compassion for all people. Help us to put aside personal interests and work together for the common good, fostering a spirit of collaboration and mutual respect. We ask your special blessings upon those being confirmed and transitioning to new leadership roles. Grant them wisdom, courage, and steadfast faith in their endeavors. May they carry out their responsibilities with great humility, discernment, and a deep commitment to serving the public good. Bless those who serve behind the scenes, providing support and expertise, and also bless the families who stand by our leaders with love and encouragement. May their sacrifices continue to be honored and their contributions be remembered. Finally, Lord, we ask your presence to fill this room, guiding us to have productive dialogue and decisions that uplift, protect, and strengthen this great community. May everything that is done in word and deed here today be edifying to all people and ultimately bring glory to your name. These things and all things I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you, Pastor Helton. The first items on the agenda are the swearing in of Commissioner Richard Linville, Commissioner Gloria Wisenhunt, and Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor Ed Jones. Actually, we have a new Commissioner, Greg Wilson, elected for the first time. He's actually in Germany, and with family who live there. And he's actually going to be back, and we'll actually do that on the 12th. So we also have with us conducting our ceremony today, Judge Eric Morgan. Certainly appreciate his attendance. And I'd like to invite Richard Linville to go down and meet the judge, and we can begin.
Thank you very much, Chairman Martin.
Thank you.
Commissioners, for the honor and privilege of getting to administer the oath of office. As a Superior Court judge, it is one of my favorite duties. I get to ride circuit. I have the privilege of traveling across this state and trying jury trials. Administering the oaths of office is very special, and I've thought about why. I think these are important moments to reflect. First, to reflect on our history. The law of oaths in North Carolina is some of our oldest law that goes back to the 1780s. It was important to our founders to have individuals who were willing to serve stand before family, friends, colleagues, raise their right hand, and express their commitment to serve. It's also a moment to reflect on our Constitution. We talk often of the United States Constitution, as we should, but Article 1 of the North Carolina Constitution provides that all political power is vested in and derives from the people. All political power is vested in and derives from the people. What you are about to witness is a crucial moment in our government when an individual who's dedicated and willing to serve takes the oath of office. Power is being transferred from the people in whom it resides following an election to a dedicated servant who's here to serve the community. It is a special moment indeed. Commissioner Linville's service and dedication stretches back to 1980. such a legacy of service. He's been serving since then, has served as chair of the commissioners and served in so many other ways, including on the Transportation Advisory Committee on dealing with our roads and for so long. Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your willingness to bring your experience to bear for the citizens of Forsyth County. And if you're ready to take your oath of office, I'd ask you to place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right, and if you swear or affirm as to the oath, if you would answer with "I will" when your response is called for. I, Richard V. Linville, do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as County Commissioner of Forsyth County, so help me God. I, Richard V. Linville, do solemnly and sincerely swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God. I, Richard V. Linville, do swear that I will well and truly execute the duties of the office of County Commissioner of Forsyth County according to the best of my skill and ability, according to the law, so help me God. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Next, we will have the administration of the oath of office, again by Judge Morgan, and it will be for Commissioner Gloria Wisenhunt. And while she's walking down, I'm going to recognize our sheriff who is here, and also the mayor of Kernersville, Don Morgan. Thank you both for being here.
All right. Commissioner Wisenhunt, the Bible being held by your husband, Kurt. Before I administer your oath, I just want to take a moment and acknowledge, too, my thanks for your service. Having served on the Board of Commissioners since 1996, prior to that, on the school board, having served as both vice chair and chair of this board, served the community in so many ways. Thank you for your willingness to bring your experience to bear for the citizens of Forsyth County. And if you are ready to take your oath, if you would raise your right hand, and if you swear or affirm as to this oath, if you'll respond with "I will" when your response is called for. I, Gloria D. Wisenhunt, do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as County Commissioner of Forsyth County, so help me God. I, Gloria D. Wisenhunt, do solemnly and sincerely swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God. I, Gloria D. Wisenhunt, do swear that I will well and truly execute the duties of the office of County Commissioner of Forsyth County, according to the best of my skill and ability, according to the law, so help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you again, Judge Morgan. We're now going to administer the oath of office to the Forsyth Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor, Ed Jones. I'd like to invite Ed to come forward. And again, thank Judge Eric Morgan for completing this ceremony.
All right, welcome, Mr. Jones. And he's here with his wife, Brandy, who's going to hold the Bible for him. And sir, if you're ready to take your oath, if you swear or affirm as to this oath, I'd ask you to respond with "I will" when your response is called for. I, Edward Jones, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as Forsyth Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor, so help me God. I, Edward Jones, do solemnly and sincerely swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God. I, Edward Jones, do swear or affirm that I will well and truly execute the duties of the office of Forsyth Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor according to the best of my skill and ability, according to the law, so help me God. Congratulations. Sir, if you will sign right there for me.
Judge, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for taking
Thank you,
your time
Judge.
to be here. Good. I'd like to give our folks that have just been sworn in an opportunity to say a word or two. And I will begin with Commissioner Linville, make his comment, and we'll just follow in the order they were sworn in.
I'll say just a few words. It won't be long. I had a lot of things on mine, and I just got to a place I thought, well, it's probably a good place to stop. Honorable Judge Morgan, thank you for being here, as well as your wife, Mayor Kernersville. I want to thank all of the people that voted for me, supported me in any way, had some help in putting out signs this time. Has been some times I put most of them out myself, and I got to where I thought I was pretty good at that, but Mr. Whisenhunt, he's the best. What made me think I was kind of good at it was I'd put out signs. It's not happened just this election, before too. Well, once in a while I'd go back and check. I sometimes seemed like I'd miss some signs, and if I was in the area, I'd check on one, and I'd go by and there was a Whisenhunt sign. So I'd found a place that he must have thought was good, but he's the best at that. And also, I'll always be grateful and remember all of the people that's helped me in the days gone by, and that was been quite a number. We did a lot of things that earlier on, and sadly, some of the people has passed on, and many of them that helped in those past days are still around. I wished everyone could remember a lot of the things that we did. We didn't have enough money to get caterers back a few years ago, or at least I did. And so what we had to do, we had a few, I don't remember exactly how many hot dog suppers. We didn't charge very much. For $4 or $5, what can you get for $5 now? But that's the way we had to do it. And a lot of people came too, would do it during election time, and people that was running for office, many of them would come. That's what you call doing it the grassroots way, and shoestring budgets. If anybody's ever had any shorter shoestring budgets than I have, I'd like for them to tell me how they did, just so I could know. So if there's anything that I thought this was getting to a good place when I was trying to think about the things of the campaigns. So if there's anything that I have forgotten about, I just say thanks. So thank you all.
Mr. Whisenhunt.
Thank you. I also would like to say thank you to the judge and the mayor. Both of you have been great supporters for years. And when you read that oath, it gets your attention. I'm going to start by introducing and talking about my husband, which you all know for years has been my largest supporter with our grassroots campaign. So thank you, Kurt. And then my brother and his wife are here, Derek and Tammy Duggins. That's what that D's for, and Gloria D. Whisenhunt. So thank you for being here. You all have been so good in supporting me all these years. When they said invite folks, and I thought, well, I don't know. So two people I really wanted to invite was Dudley Watts and Damon. They're two of my best friends, and I miss you both. But I will say that you've been replaced well. But you're still my good friends. And we've spent so much time together. Damon and I started here at the county the same year, and he retired. So I don't know. But anyway, I miss you both, and thank you for being here today. And Chantel, I will have to tell you that the sheriff said that he was here specifically for me today, and it was not for money. Thank you, Sheriff. But I thank this board. I thank you all so much. And Richard, we have been here a long time. You know, that's all that our competitors wanted to talk about. was how long we'd been here. Maybe it'd been too long. I'm grateful that it wasn't too long, but I do think history is very important in government. If you don't have history, you're going to repeat some of the same, you're going to repeat mistakes. So I find it a privilege to be serving 4 more years. I really do. It's an humbling experience. There's so many things that go on that the public never knows. And I will talk about what a wonderful staff we have, but I'm going to do that our last meeting before Christmas. But we have a wonderful staff. The public should know how hard these people work for Forsyth County. But thank you so much, and I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate all of you all being here today. Thank you.
Supervisor Jones, would you like to say a word or two? Certainly. You can either pick up that mic or use the mic at the podium or pick up the one that's right to your right. Yes, perfect.
I thank all y'all again for voting for me, and I thank making it easy for my first time. This is my first time, and like I said, since I was a kid, I always try something new. I go somewhere and do this for a while. I tried something new, then I found spirituality, which is my ministry. And now my church is stood behind me, and now it's time for us to stand behind y'all and lead this on a little further and try to get this soil and water right. So I think I can do it. I can make a change with somebody else. But we're going to try, and we're going to do our best to get there. For the first and the fourth.
Certainly, congratulations to the 3 of you, and certainly look forward to serving with my 2 colleagues as a commissioner. Now I'd like to turn the meeting over to County Manager for the election of chair, and then she can handle that part.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin, and good afternoon, Commissioner, staff, and guests. Commissioners, the floor is open to receive nominations for chair. Is there a nomination?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Martin for chair.
Are there any additional nominations? Hearing no further nominations, I declare the nominations for chair closed. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
I did have a,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes,
Any discussion? I'm sorry.
I do have just a couple of words. And first, I want to thank the Honorable Eric Morgan for such an excellent prelude to what I had on my heart and mind to say as we transition to new leaders on the commission, and sustaining some of the ones that we've had, and also, of course, importantly, electing our leadership. So to all the citizens of Forsyth County, especially our school-age students whom just may be watching this meeting in their civics classes, swearing in new elected officers and choosing leadership are essential to our form of government to operate in a peaceful and progressive way. Thus, moving forward, party politics and grudges should not matter because we all have taken an oath to uphold not only our state but our national constitution, which are upheld by and based on for the people, by the people, of the people, which are you. Lastly, as your elected officials, we must lead and be careful not to rule. With the privilege to serve as your elected representative, we must not rule to advance selfish motives, partisan extremes, or contradictory ideals to our democracy. Instead, we must lead to transform all parts of our county that are burdened with despair. We must lead to unite a diverse board of commissioners, and we must lead to fulfill the ideals of our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries 4-1. I will now turn the meeting over to Chair Martin. Congratulations.
I'd like to say thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve. It has been, I think, a very good year, and it's been an honor to serve you. Now we'll select the vice chair, and I'd like to repeat the same. So the floor is now open to receive nominations for vice chair. Is there a nomination? And I'd actually like,
I nominate Commissioner Gloria Whisenhunt.
We have a motion by Commissioner Linville and a second by Commissioner Bessie to nominate Gloria Whisenhunt. Are there additional nominations? Righty. We've had a motion and a second. Would all in favor please raise your right hand? Motion carries unanimously. All righty.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, fellow commissioners. Be happy to serve for another year. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. All righty. I think we have no discussion items here, and we are ready to actually have a reception for those of you.
We actually have one.
We have one, excuse me, we do have one item, and the one item has to do, we have to renew our bonds, I think is the proper action, and that is an item on your agenda. Yes.
It is, and I'm going to ask Shannon Hutchins, our Human Resources Director, to briefly brief this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This resolution renews the statutorily required bonds for the tax collector, chief financial officer, sheriff, register of deeds, and other county employees. The bonds have been examined by the county's risk manager and determined to be in compliance with state law. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? A motion, please.
I move approval.
Motion by Vice Chair Whisenhunt, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion?
At least I'm not having to face bail.
Yes, we all are. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Now, we're going to have a reception out front, out here for the next 45 minutes or so, and then we're going to return and actually have a briefing session for our meeting on Thursday, because we were unable to do that last week. So we'll now have a reception. Thank all of you for being here, and please, we'll meet you out in the lobby. We are back now for our December 2nd briefing for the meeting on Thursday, December the 5th. We have no discussion items, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to County Manager Robinson.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. The agenda items before you are consideration for the December 5th meeting. Agenda items number 1 and 2 have been withdrawn from Front Street, but agenda item number 3 is a public hearing on the zoning petition of Perimeter Point Properties LLC from AG to LIS. Our Planning Director, Chris Murphy, will brief this item.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a petition of Perimeter Point Properties LLC to rezone 13.9 acres of property located at the southwestern intersection of Rural Hall Germantown Road and McGee Road. The request is to rezone the property from AG to LIS, Limited Industrial Special Use. This is the subject property shown on the countywide Legacy Growth Management Area Plan map. It is located within GMA 5. It is located to the east of Rural Hall and the west of Germantown Road, along Rural Hall Germantown Road at McGee Road. This is the subject property highlighted in yellow. Again, it is currently zoned Ag, and they're requesting to rezone to LIS. There is some remnant LI zoning in the area that was left over from when the railroad went through there, but is currently unused. Subject property outlined in yellow on the countywide aerial imagery. You do see that there is a cleared area on this property, and as you'll see from some site photos, it's been graded and gravelled, and they are currently storing some materials out here. They are a subcontractor, do a lot of work for NCDOT on road projects. They install barricades, barrels, signage, those kind of things. They are a local company. They used to be located on Patterson Avenue, close to Germantown Road, and decided to relocate here without going through the proper procedures, which is why we're here today. This is the subject property shown on the Rural Hall Area Plan update, which was completed in the mid-2010s. It does just recommend residential for the subject property. A few site photos. This is looking north along McGee Road. The subject property is to the left. You see the zoning sign there. You see the stop sign. That's the stop sign at McGee and Rural Hall Germantown Road. This is looking west at the access point from McGee Road into the site. Again, you notice that it has been cleared, gravelled, stabilized. There are still a lot of remaining trees out there. This is actually in the interior of the site. This is looking south into the subject property. Again, you see some of the storage buildings and barricades and barrels and those kind of things that they do have for their line of work. Looking west into the subject property, again, just a large expanse of gravel and storage area. This is the site plan that was submitted with their request. Again, it is an S. They are requesting approval of the site plan. They are maintaining a lot of existing vegetation to serve as part of their buffer. Again, just showing areas of outdoor storage. This is not manufacturing. This is a service and general contracting heavy type use. But again, those uses do allow for outdoor storage of materials. The proposed use is anticipated to generate minimal traffic. However, the traffic that will be generated will more than likely be heavier vehicles, again, because they're bringing materials on and off the site to construction sites. The request may encourage the spread of inappropriate industrial encroachment into GMA 5. The request is inconsistent with both the recommendations of Legacy 2030 and the adopted area plan. The site design and buffering should eliminate most of the off-site impacts from the request. This was heard by the Planning Board at their October meeting. There were no speakers in opposition. Following the public hearing, the Planning Board discussed the item, and through this discussion, the petitioner volunteered to remove the use manufacturing A from their request. It's not needed for what they're proposing, but they had included it as, again, just to keep future flexibility and options open. With the removal of that use manufacturing A, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of this request. I believe that had to do with allowing an existing business to continue to be in Forsyth County. And with that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
I have one. I spoke with the petitioner at 6 or 7 months ago, when he kind of discovered where he was. But if I'm not mistaken, is he indicating that he plans to build his own home on that site?
I'm not sure if it's on the site. I believe he does also own some other property either across McGee or to the south of this. I believe he did testify that to the planning board, but I can't swear to that. Again, it would be, I don't want to say immaterial, because it's not part of the request, but I believe he does own additional property in the area.
Yeah, it kind of gets at whether it's the inappropriateness to live next to it.
Correct.
Kind of the thing, part of it.
I have a question or two, if you're done, Mr. Chairman.
I am, thank you.
Is there, all of the outline in red is being requested in the zoning, is that correct?
Correct.
Well, is there some natural, I'm just going by what you can see up there on the highway, but is there natural buffer all the way around this property?
If you'll notice, this kind of gives a fairly good representation of the site. This aerial was probably from early 2024. The area that is now in gravel and is the area of storage is the area that is cleared, the area that I'm kind of outlining. So this is where that driveway comes in, and the other cleared area is where they're storing materials. So you see there is a fairly substantial natural vegetative buffer to the south and southeast. You've got this area here that is also in existing vegetation. You've got the only area where it goes to the property line is right here, and again, that's where it abuts existing LI zoning. I'm not sure who owns that piece of property. I think that they own it as well, but I'm not 100% sure of that. So to answer your question, there is some nice mature trees out there that do serve as a buffer. And if this is approved, it's approved per this plan. So those areas that are shown to remain vegetated would have to remain that way, or they would have to come back to the commissioners and ask for an additional change to their site plan.
It would have to be amended to be expanded.
Correct.
Well, the reason I ask about the buffer is, and not particular this case, it can be for any of these things anywhere in the county. Sometimes buffers get removed in the process, the natural, and I think a lot of times you wouldn't have complaints about whatever might be going on, even though zoning has been approved. But when a industrial business kind of zoning is going on somewhere out in a rural area, then it might not would be here, but it can happen anywhere. You never know where. Now, manufacturing A. This is going to be light, and it's going to be heavy equipment there of some sort. Well, they clean that on occasion from when maybe it's out on job for a while and come back in. They clean that stuff. Well, when you're doing that kind of thing, you're doing pressure washing and part of the cleaning. Is that kind of cleaning according to the way the ordinance is now, is that kind of cleaning okay to do out in the open?
The use that they have as a services B, and it kind of straddles the fence between a services B and a general contractor heavy, and they have both of those uses. Both of those uses allow for outdoor storage of materials and equipment. Customary and incidental to that would be, again, if they're bringing their equipment back on there and they need to wash it down, hose it down, use a pressure washer on it, et cetera, that would be allowed. Now, they couldn't then decide that they want to operate a heavy industrial car wash and like have every heavy equipment operator bring their stuff out there and then them wash it, that would be a different use. But they would be able to clean their own equipment out there on their site outdoors, because that would be customary and incidental to the use.
Well, where we've had the difficulty, what I'm just wanting to be sure that, well, I just know where you got heavy equipment there is cleaning goes on. Well, what if you want to go a step further? You know what that step further is? The step further is sometime when equipment gets in bad enough shape, it needs repainting. And repainting could be called for some sandblasting. Would that be okay to do that?
You see where this is going?
I do, and again, it's one of those things that I and our staff are hypersensitive to. To answer your question, I mean, yes, I think that if someone has a piece of equipment on their site and they need to repaint it and they're sandblasting their one piece of equipment out there and then they're going to paint it, I believe they could do that. They could not operate they couldn't do that continuously, similar to what's happened in other places in the county where that is their primary use as far as like cleaning and repairing the equipment, because their job is to take that equipment in from places all across the state, the southeast, clean, repair, upgrade that equipment, and then send it back out. Similar to my answer on washing their vehicles, they couldn't like start sandblasting other folks' vehicles and painting them and doing that. But again, I mean, just like if you were going to do something on at your house, or I was going to do something at my house, and for some reason I had to have a sandblaster to do it, as long as it would be kind of a one-off, there's not an issue with that.
Does it come down to, there comes down to a line somewhere where you can do something or you can't do something. That's what I'm trying to do, is find that line.
Well, Gordon and
Does it come down to ownership?
The county attorney and I have had this conversation on a lot of different things over the years, and there's always a line. You just got to figure out where that line is. I don't have an easy way to define what that line is, but we run into this whenever folks are, whenever you have someone who has animals and they have a couple litters of puppies. When does it become, I have an animal and they're having puppies, and when does it become a commercial breeding operation? I mean, there's a line there somewhere. We just have to figure out where that line is. In this context, if they were doing sandblasting and they were repainting their own equipment and it was something that, is just going to take a day or two, then that's fine. They couldn't be doing other people's equipment. That would be a different use.
Well, there are some of the construction companies I'm just trying to find the line. So what I'd like for you and the attorney to do is see if you can find that line so you can tell us where that line is. And then whatever that is, that line, it needs to be put in as a condition. So
Commissioner, I'll just weigh in. I don't think it's possible for us to anticipate every potential use. I agree with Mr. Murphy that some of these incidental activities would probably be allowed out there, and this is a legislative matter. If you as a board are concerned about this, you certainly do not have to approve this rezoning.
Well, the S part is special, isn't it? The LIS?
It is. I'm just saying I don't think we can anticipate any kind of annoying behavior that could conceivably go on out there.
Well, the difficulties we had before, we didn't anticipate either, but we have them. So I'll just ask you and the attorney to see what you can come up with. My son and myself have been working on a piece of equipment for a few days, and we get in a conversation, and he thinks he's right, and I think I am. And he said, I just keep on. He said, you just won't give up. So I'm just asking you and the attorney to find the line.
Well, we'll see if we can find a line. I will say again, the one thing that is good about this request as compared to the situation that we're talking about is, again, they don't have the use manufacturing C, whereas the other entity did have that. And again, they said one thing and then ended up actually doing another, and that led to a lot of problems. In this context, we have the uses that they have, if it's approved, are the uses that are listed there, and doing wholesale manufacturing C type activities with wholesale repair and sandblasting and doing equipment that other folks own, that would not fall under these uses that are listed here. So again, I think there are some safeguards. I think there are some safety barriers that are in place, no pun intended, since this is a safety barrier operation. But I mean, again, if we can think of anything, we'll put our heads together, but I can't promise that we
Okay,
can.
I'm just asking you to look. I always, prevention, I think prevention is easier than solving.
I would agree with that.
So I'm not trying to give you a hard time because I think you're one of the best ones we've had here. So I'm just learning from you and the attorney. Y'all teaching me this stuff, so that's all I'm doing.
Commissioner Best.
And Commissioner, if there are any particular conditions you would like to be broached with the petitioner, that's something that Mr. Murphy could do. If you wanted to put in a condition that, there could be no sandblasting or painting or whatever, that's something, but it would have to be agreed upon by the petitioner before you could pass that.
I understand.
I think we've all learned get it in writing is the safe thing to do for the neighbors. I'm interested actually in exploring how this operation ended up in this location if it's not an allowed use in that zoning. How long has it been there?
They started grading and putting some gravel down on the site last spring. And then we cited them, and then they have been going through the process to get the site plan into us and bring it forward. They actually submitted a sketch plan probably in mid to late summer. Then they actually submitted their rezoning request, and then there was a continuance or two that they needed to work through a couple things. But they actually put this, started clearing and utilizing this, and I got a couple calls from some of your constituents, and I can't remember, I think I may have gotten a call or two from a couple of commissioners who had gotten some calls and wanted to know what was going on. And we initially thought it had something to do with construction of the Beltway, and it was an NCDOT kind of staging area. We'll come to find out NCDOT had owned this. It was surplus property. I think it may not have been NCDOT. I can't remember, but they purchased, the folks that own this company purchased it back late 2023 and then decided to move their business out here without going through the proper permits.
And is there any reason to believe that they thought it was a permitted use here?
I will have to have you ask them that. It's my understanding that they were like, oh, sorry, we just forgot we needed to do that.
I'm not terribly sympathetic to the idea of, well, we need to change zoning to allow an existing business to continue operations when it was so recent, and it's pretty obvious that this is not an industrial area. And sort of due diligence would suggest if you're going to move your business someplace like this, you better find out whether it's something that's allowed by the local zoning.
If you follow the transfer of the deeds between the two properties that they own, they sold their existing property on Patterson Avenue for a pretty penny and then bought this for a good price. So again, I think they've come out pretty good in this deal. From a staff perspective, again, I'm here presenting the planning board's recommendation, which was for approval with the elimination of that one use. From a staff perspective, I kind of share some of what you're saying in that it's not appropriate. It's not shown as an industrial area on the plans, but it is adjacent to something that's zoned LI. So that's why it's not considered a spot zone. some of those things. But again, from a pure planning perspective, it's fairly far removed from any other industrial.
No, I mean, I know it's the usual situation for you if you make a recommendation and the planning board decides otherwise, you have to come and represent the planning board here. I'm from a good planning and community impacts basis, I'm struggling to see a legitimate, the reason that I consider legitimate to simply say, oh, well, they moved here a year ago and, you know,
We were
shake a finger
surprised.
and we're gonna allow it.
We were surprised that there were no neighbors that were at the planning board meeting. Again, because we had several complaints whenever this went out there. I'm not sure if, once they figured out what it was, they don't have a problem with it. But again, there was no one that showed up in opposition, which was surprising, because like I said, we had several calls early on.
It is puzzling. I mean, it's hard to keep track, I guess, around the holidays, what's happening when. I'm surprised that this is coming to us for a second briefing today, and it's scheduled to be heard on Thursday.
Well, again, I think that's because of the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah.
Because the second briefing should have been last Thursday, but obviously, no one was here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, ready for item 4.
Okay, agenda item number 4 is Mr. Murphy's as well. It's a public hearing on the zoning petition of Wake Forest University Health Sciences from IPS to IPS.
Again, thank you. This is a 6.72 acre tract located on the west side of Welfare Road, south of Log Cabin Road. It's a special use rezoning request from IPS to IPS. It is they're introducing a new development area. So therefore, it's a rezoning, but it's essentially a site plan amendment as well. This is the subject property shown on the Legacy Growth Management Area map. It is located within GMA4. It's right on the Davidson County, Forsyth County line. This is the subject property highlighted in yellow, the portion that's within Forsyth County. Again, as I mentioned, this is literally on the county line. Part of the subject property is within Davidson County and part is within Forsyth County. Subject property outlined in yellow on the countywide aerial imagery. This is the subject property shown on the Southwest Suburban Area Plan update approved in the mid-2010s. It does recognize the existing IPS institutional zoning on the subject property and recommends carrying that forward. Just a number of site photos. This is looking east at the intersection of Welfare Road and Freeburg Church Road. So this is taken from Welfare Road, looking back to the east towards down Freeburg Church Road. Subject property is 3,000 feet to the west behind this perspective. This is looking southwest at the intersection of Welfare Road and Freeburg Church Road. Again, the subject property is 3,000 feet west from this image. That's looking at that intersection again with Freeburg Church Road. This is looking west from the intersection of Welfare Road and Freeburg Church Road. The subject property is 3,000 feet to the west of this location. Again, there are a number of these photos that were taken here because we had some initial folks that had emailed in, not really concerned with the use, but they had some concerns about ways that some of the traffic goes down Welfare Road, the way Freeburg Church Road and Welfare Road are. It kind of lends itself to a great rate of speed down Welfare Road. So that's why we had a lot of site images showing that. Again, whenever it came time for the public hearing before the planning board, no one showed up in opposition. This is looking west from Welfare Road at the property's existing access point. The subject property is to the right. You see the zoning sign. That is the current entrance into the Clarkson campus where they do research, biomedical research. The building, the subject property is going to be kind of behind this building that's to your right there. This is looking northwest from the property's existing access point on Welfare Road. The site's approximate location is shown in the background. Again, we'll get to the site plan. Again, this straddles the Davidson County and Forsyth County line. The portion that's in Davidson County is the lightly shaded area. The Davidson County portion has already been approved. I'm not sure if that was a staff level approval or a county commissioner approval, but it has gone through the approval process. The portion that is the darker shaded and has the green on it, that's the portion that's coming to the commissioners for your consideration. It's my understanding, again, we'll hear from the petitioners on Thursday, but this is the regional medical examiner's office is going to be located in this building. The request represents an internally oriented expansion of a previously established high-tech medical research center. The request is consistent with the recommendations of both Legacy 2030 and the Southwest Suburban Area Plan update. Again, this was heard at the October 10th, 2024 public hearing by the Planning Board. There were no speakers in opposition, and following the public hearing, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of this to the commissioners. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris?
Just a couple. I was going to ask whether this was the regional medical examiner facility. I knew that they were in the works of planning something out in that area. Do you know if they anticipate any expansion of the primate facility there over the county line? I know that they had deliberately located that in Davidson County some years ago.
Not in the short term. In the long term, it's my understanding that they do have some additional expansion plans. The majority of the primate center is actually in Forsyth County.
Really? Okay.
If you look, this is where we're talking about currently. This is currently the main entrance into the campus. All of this area up here are the laboratories and cages and things for the primate research that they do. So it's, and I want to say that came, I can't remember, I don't have the staff report in front of me, but there should be under the history. There was a rezoning case, I want to say that came 2003, 2004. And that was what that was for. And again, my understanding long-term is they do have some other expansion plans, but in the near term, they wanted to get the medical examiner's office approved, and then they might be bringing something else through several years down the road.
I don't see any problem really with the location here, and you know the history is in order. Frankly, I just wanted to be sure I knew what they were talking about, so if people ask me. But, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Further question? Good.
Agenda item number 5 is approval of minutes from November 21st, and that was emailed last Wednesday. Agenda item number 6 is an amendment to the 2016 Schools Capital Projects Ordinance for the new Ashley Elementary School. Our Deputy CFO, Lee Plunkett, will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This item is an amendment to the 2016 Schools CPO, and it does a few things. The first is the school has requested $700,000 to finish the construction documents and design to go to full bidding for that project. So this appropriates the $700,000 for that. It also has a few cleanup items. One is in consideration of the Louisville Middle School project. We had originally budgeted $1.2 million for a road widening piece of that project. We'd only received $892,000, so we're just cleaning up the budget on that side of it to account for the revenue that we actually received. And then lastly, it also brings in line a piece of our budget, which we discovered during our financial statement creation in fiscal year 23. Long story short, to properly amortize our premium on the bonds that we receive, there's a small amount, about $150,000, that we should have recorded to debt issuance costs, along with the appropriated premium that covered that debt issuance cost.
Could you just repeat that again? I did not understand.
I know this is a little complicated, even for me.
Well, I just didn't understand the words you used. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the premium, we have to amortize our premium in our financial statements to recognize that liability that's out on our books. And we normally had netted out that premium against our underwriter's discount when we sell bonds. And and that was my fault. And so what we're doing here is recognizing the debt issuance costs that we've already paid for and settled, and recognizing the offsetting revenue of bond premium to pay for those debt issuance costs. So the budget is in line and everything is good. And those are those three pieces. Any questions?
And one of the attachments is a long spreadsheet like this?
Yeah, that's something that we use to determine how much or where all the funding sources were in the current school CPO, and where we're going to properly take the amount of bond proceeds that we're appropriating, any additional premium for the debt issuance costs. And then you'll see at the very bottom on this third column that's titled amendment, there's the amounts that's sitting in our budget reserve is $380,204 is the additional amount that we're going to use for the Ashley project. The rest is from premium that we've identified that hadn't been budgeted yet. And
Yeah, just, well, look, part of looking at that chart, the surplus part shows 104 million at the bottom, but then the balance chart is actually subtracting that actual 281,675,000 from what really was the expenditure that matched the budget over on the first column. So the 91 million is really kind of looks like that's just an irrelevant number. The real issue is they have 104 million unspent.
so I would actually probably recommend using that 91.6 for projects, the balance they have for projects. That
104 is undesignated. The difference between 91 and 104 is undesignated?
it's the interest earnings. If you look at the third row and you follow it all the way to the right, there's 13.2 million in interest earnings. And we have held those back to pay for arbitrage rebates as it comes along.
Okay,
so.
okay.
Yeah.
So that would tie in, yep. That would, in fact, that's the difference.
Yes.
That is the difference. Is that number, yeah. So, yeah, so clearly in project, so there really is available 104 million available for projects. I mean, well, you have a balance of the interest earnings, which are not yet committed.
Yeah, we're holding those back for the arbitrage rebate that we're accruing on all of our bond issuances.
They have, well, is the arbitrage rebate budget, and I mean, 174,
Yeah, that's based off the first payment that we've had. It was a small amount. It was, 6 months ago. But in our latest arbitrage rebate reports that we received back, we're accruing $2 to $5 million so far in other projects.
You said up to 2 to 5 million?
It's going to increase drastically, yeah. And that's normal, it's expected. We issued those 2021 bonds at historically low rates.
Yep.
Less than 2%, and we've been earning interest on those, maybe 4 and 5%. So that difference, the federal government doesn't want us to keep it, so that we got to pay it back.
Part has to go back. I got it.
Yep.
But anyway, it is, so the 91 million is what they really do have yet to spend.
Yeah, and that was,
and mid-
as of maybe a month ago. They spent some down since then, but yeah.
Yeah, because that's one of the big issues about looking at a future bond issue in 2028 has a lot to do with how fast, now a lot of that money is committed, I mean, without a doubt, but it's just how long it's going to take to spend it in time. It's all about timing when they run out of, all that part. Anyway, I got it. I got it. Thank you. Any other questions?
Agenda item number 7 is Mr. Plunkett's as well. It's an amendment to the 2022 Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools Capital Maintenance 2/3 Bonds Capital Projects Ordinance and transfer of funds for maintenance needs.
Yes, this one is a standard, happens almost every year. 1.735 million was appropriated in the annual budget in fiscal year 24. That's transferred to this CPO. And the transfer did happen, but the schools are now requesting that money to be used. And so this amendment appropriates that money to be used for their purposes.
If they spend more or less than those general sort of amounts that they have listed, did they report that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, it's kind of just what.
Yeah, those
I was a
capital
little
maintenance
surprised
projects
at this.
kind of come into one bucket. Yeah.
I was a little surprised that technology was in that list, but fairly, I can't remember right off the amount, but because there are a lot of other places that technology has shown up in purchases, and I was just a little surprised. Well, and in their regular budget, their regular budget has ongoing, replacement issues, and I was just kind of curious. It's a lot of catch-alls in that
There
list,
is.
and
We can definitely ask for it if you'd like.
Well, probably not. I'm probably not. But I was curious if there was ever real sort of a known. I mean, I remember in the past that those lists would actually show a list of, spreadsheet of 150 projects that are going to be fix-ups, and replace sidewalks, pave this drive, replace this chiller, that kind of thing. It got down to, they had a pretty good idea of the projects with a budget estimate on each one, which kind of shows you're planning and using priorities to do that. What this shows is just broad, 400,000 here, 300,000 here, carpentry 200,000, technology, 50 million, 50,000. It just has this odd sort of collection of things which doesn't suggest that those numbers came from any kind of plan. It just says, well, kind of, we might do this, so here we go. We need to transfer this money. It's kind of no different than saying, just transfer the money.
Understood. I do think on the bond-funded project side, I think there is a more detailed list of those projects.
I know there is on those. In fact, those balances, those budget balances came from their bid amounts and the amount remaining, and they have, just as a built-in contingency in the Ashley design, there's some contingencies that will rest in each of those unfinished projects, but they are driven by true estimates on paper, which makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I miss. What I'm saying is in the CPO that we're talking about here, which is the capital maintenance, that's that $8.5 million that we issue every other year. So that's what I was referring to, not necessarily the one on the previous item. Yeah. So there's a list of the chiller, boiler, stuff like that that's bond.
Yeah.
It's longer term type capital maintenance projects.
For the two-thirds bond, CPO, that Mr. Plunkett's referring to, there is a very detailed list of projects for the two-thirds bond CPOs.
So
this 1735, it used to be our mobile modular money, really is kind of how we started that annual transfer. I mean, that's what Daryl will refer to it as mobile modular money, but it's a little bit different use now.
So this is an amendment.
This is just for the 1.735 million.
Yeah.
That's the annual transfer from the general fund.
Yeah, general fund dollars we transfer every year.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Go ahead.
Yeah. If I may, following up on sort of the line of questioning, $300,000 isn't a lot if you're talking about, doing a major facility like a stadium from scratch. But, that's real money if you're talking about doing something that, like resurfacing a track that no longer meets state competitive standards, as in Carver High School. I'd like to see a little more information on whether there are projects that they're prioritizing on that. I mean, I think that would be, for example, like a $90,000 job.
Yeah, just like, excuse me, Mr. Bishop, I was thinking those same thoughts. I'm trying to get that list right in front of me. You've got it right in front of you.
Yeah.
But it has, one of the first ones, athletics at three. That's what you're saying. Out of the 300,000 athletics, 90,000 probably would be. But I'm with you. That was kind of well, what are your priorities?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some real inequity issues with facilities like playgrounds. And so if they're talking about, bringing the Eastine or the South Fork Elementary playground equipment and grounds up to the same standards that you get at Whitaker School, for example, that'd be great. I mean, that's something that I had intended to, look into in more detail over the next couple of years. Sounds like this would be a good opportunity to start that.
Yeah, I can request that for you for sure.
Thank you so much.
Other questions?
Thank you. Agenda item number 8 is an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to appropriate economic development incentive funding awarded by the state of North Carolina. Our budget director, Kyle Wolf, will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So in April, June, and September of this year, the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners approved economic development projects and authorized staff to apply for state of North Carolina grant programs to aid the projects. 3 grants have been awarded to the county. This item is necessary to appropriate $675,000 of state funding, including a $75,000 for a One North Carolina grant for Excel interior door, $250,000 for a building reuse grant for Riddell, and $350,000 for a building reuse grant for Foster Cabinets. And happy to try and answer any questions you might have about these.
Any questions? That's good news.
Agenda item number 9 is an amendment to the fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to increase revenues and appropriations for the Forsyth County Department of Public Health from the Community Nutrition Services WIC section of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Our Assistant Health Director, Nicole Pretty, will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The Department of Public Health is seeking approval for an amendment to the current fiscal year 25 budget ordinance to appropriate an additional $247,739 to the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children. The WIC program has received this adjusted funding from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services due to the addition of 1,058 program participants this fiscal year. These funds will be used to support additional positions needed to appropriately provide nutritional support and education to the 9,880 women, infants, and children currently receiving supplemental food support in Forsyth County. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item number 10 is a resolution authorizing execution of a revenue agreement with Wake Forest University Health Sciences for the provision of food and nutrition program outreach services. Our Social Services Division Director, Chantel Williams, will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Madam Manager. I'm here seeking approval of a revenue contract for a new position within our food and nutrition services with Atrium Health Sciences. And I do have colleagues from Atrium here today that would like to speak with you all about the briefing, and that would be Dr. Montez and Dr. DeWitt.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thanks for having us here today. My name is Dr. Layla DeWitt. I'm a pediatric hospitalist at Brenner Children's, and I have with me my friend and colleague, Dr. Kimberly Montez, a pediatrician and advocate at the Downtown Health Plaza affiliated with Brenner Children's Hospital. She and I both are pediatricians who care for some of the most vulnerable patients in Forsyth County, the children of Forsyth County. As you guys know, Forsyth County has a large problem with food insecurity, with about 18% of our children food insecure. That equates to about 4,000 kids. If you think about the kids that come to see our hospital, whether they're admitted to Brenner Children's or the Downtown Health Plaza for their clinic visits or born in our newborn nursery, we see about 4,000 children a year who screen positive for food insecurity, but are still eligible for government nutrition benefits, including SNAP. We have done some pilot work at the Children's Hospital, looking at food insecurity in the hospital. And in that work, we found that of all of our admissions over the last 2 to 3 years, children with food insecurity had a significantly longer length of stay and were much more likely to bounce back to the hospital and be readmitted within 30 days of their admission. As a pediatrician, we know that nutrition is very important. I don't think I need to explain that to you. I think you all know that too. And so our job here as food insecurity researchers and pediatricians is to try and improve the nutritional status and security of the children we take care of. Our pilot work that found that increased length of stay and readmission rate led us to build some pretty impressive programs at Brenner Children's, including a meal tray program for our kids and families of kids who are admitted. Dr. Montez has built and had a lot of success with the WIC referral program that has helped to enroll so many women and children in the WIC program. From that, we're launching our new study that the Duke Endowment has agreed to contract with us that will mimic the WIC referral program and build and implement a SNAP enrollment program within our clinical setting. No health system has done this before, so we would be the first ones to do it. And would be a great thing not only for Brenner Children's in Forsyth County and for the state, but really everywhere to demonstrate that our clinical settings like the newborn nursery, like the Downtown Health Plaza and the hospital are a great place to not only capture food insecure, but help get those families the food nutrition benefits before they even go home that day. happy to answer any questions about the study itself.
Well, I think it's a great grant, great project, and glad to hear about it. I'm a little curious about our matching dollars. Are there matching dollars on this for us on this?
Yes, 50% will come from Atrium to us, so it would cover the full FTE.
And the reimbursement from the state, Chantel.
Yes, that's 50% from the state. That is correct. We'll get 50% back from the state for that position. Yes,
That's
sir.
the question I had, the matching piece. No, it's great, great. I appreciate your pursuing that, and yes, we are aware of the serious, I guess, health ramifications for those that have food insufficient diets.
I want to ask one question. Are all the children from Forsyth County, since it's Brenters?
Sorry, can you say that one more time? Like, are all the children included in our study, were they only from Forsyth County?
Are they from Forsyth County?
So that's a great question. No, not all of the children included in our study were local to Forsyth County. A lot of them were surrounding counties. While Dr. Mondes has successfully built the WIC referral program to include not only Forsyth County, but other surrounding counties for the WIC referrals, as you know, with SNAP, we're kind of stuck with just Forsyth County for now. But this will serve as a great pilot to where if this works, we're hopeful that we can expand the program so that all the children that come to Brenner, whether they're from Davidson County, Davie County, et cetera, are still have access to the food resources they need, like SNAP.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Agenda item number 11 is a resolution authorizing execution of a revenue agreement with Partners Health Management for the provision of non-clinical support of Family and Children's Division youth housed internally in an associated budget ordinance amendment. Our division director from DSS, Adrian Turner, will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We are here to seek approval to enter into a revenue contract with Partners Health Management, where they will provide reimbursement for us for our youth who are sitting, for our staff who are sitting with youth in the building who are awaiting placements. Any questions?
Any questions? Good.
Agenda item number 12 is a resolution authorizing execution of a hardware and software support, maintenance, and subscription agreement with Presidio Network Solutions, LLC, to maintain Forsyth County's essential data protection solution. Our CIO, Gary Kuntz, will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The item before you is in reference to our backup solutions, and we did seek, proposals for this. And those are attached to this from what we got back. The last time we did a tech refresh was in 2019. What this agreement does is caps years 2 and 3 at a 3%. So we was able to negotiate with the lowest bidder to solidify the year 2 and 3 cost as well. This is for all of our data protection solutions, which is backups.
Any questions for Gary? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 13 is a resolution awarding a contract for the purchase and installation of furniture for the Highland Avenue Center project. James Anderson from General Services will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The item before you awards a contract to Contract Business Solutions for the purchase and installation of furniture for the Highland Avenue Center project. The furniture was bid by City County Purchasing, with 4 bids being received on November 12th. Contract Business Solutions submitted a bid of $195,511.75. Carolina Furnishing Design bid $196,071.27. Tracor Installation and Move Services bid $197,706.40. And Thrifty Office Furniture bid $200,086.93. The low bid is within state ARPA funds budgeted for the project, and staff are recommending award of the contract to Contract Business Solutions Incorporated. The resolution also establishes a contingency of $20,000.25 for additional furniture needs that may arise as the project concludes. The total amount of the contract, including contingency, is not to exceed $215,512. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Those are really close bids.
It was
4
really
bids
tight.
within $4,500.
I've never seen furniture bids come in that close. Could not believe it.
One of them's less than $500 difference. Wow. Any other questions?
I do have just a couple of questions, which you probably already know I'm going to ask about the MWB status of this company. Obviously, they wouldn't do any subcontracting, but I wonder what the MWB status of this company is as far as ownership.
So Contract Business Solutions is owned by a male individual here in Winston-Salem. We did have a MWB bid from Tracor for the purchase of the installation of furniture and goods. There's no MWBE statutory requirements on those, other than we have to make a good faith effort in our outreach to get those bids.
And that is good to know. And it's also good to know that it is local, because it looks like the A3 Communications is a South Carolina, which I think is the next contract. And well, I'll wait till we get to that one to ask about its MWB status. So the A3 is a white male-owned company. is what you're
A3, I'd
saying.
have to check on that and get back to you. I'm not sure.
Not
Contract
A3,
Business Solutions
this one, the Contract Business Solutions.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda item number 14 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of a contract for the installation of an access control system for the Highland Avenue Center project.
This resolution authorizes execution of contract with A3 Communications Incorporated. The scope of work was bid informally by City County Purchasing. A3 was the only firm to submit a bid on November 8th. Their bid amount was $114,743.61. The contract is funded by state ARPA funds and are within funds budgeted for the project. And the resolution also establishes a $15,000 contingency for any changes that may need to be made during the installation of that system. And the total contract amount is not to exceed $129,743.61.
Questions?
I do have a question, just in part in my ignorance around, what is an access control system?
It's card access for employees to use. So it maintains the security of the facility.
Okay. Thank you. And it seems, why do you think only one company submitted a bid? So did we do anything less than we normally do to advertise it out here? There's not a lot of companies around the area that would find this interesting, don't do the work? What's?
I couldn't speculate a reason why there was only one bidder. City County Purchasing did send it out to, I think, about 6 or 7 different firms, including others that have responded in the past to bids.
I think that's, I mean, I think $114,000 is a decent amount that any company would be ideally interested in, especially those that are local. And so I borrowed Commissioner Gray's Forward 2045, and when you look at the report around economic mobility in Forsyth County as we move forward, I think we just need to be more sensitive to the recommendations, and ideally the county can put forth a strategic effort to build the kind of economic mobility that's being suggested through this plan is my whole point. And I think we do that by prioritizing, obviously, MWB and local businesses. So thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 15 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of a contract for the purchase of equipment to upfit Ford Interceptor police pursuit vehicles. Our General Services Director, Scott Angel, will brief this item.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Board. Excuse me. If you recall, the board recently approved the purchase of 15 Ford Interceptor police pursuit vehicles to replace existing vehicles for the Sheriff's Office. Each Interceptor requires some level of upfitting, which may include the installation of graphics, window tinting, and various equipment as determined by Sheriff's Office staff and fleet staff, so the vehicle will function for its intended purpose. The installation of graphics and window tinting for the Interceptors has been completed, and they are ready for installation of equipment now. The required equipment configuration each vehicle will receive is based on the type of service the vehicle is intended for, such as a K-9 vehicle or a patrol vehicle. And the configuration may include light bars, push bumpers, sirens, siren speakers, and light heads, among other things. The fleet supervisor determined the equipment needed to upfit the interceptors is available through batteries of NC under the terms of State Contract 4616A and Sourcewell Contract 090122WHL. Per the terms of the state contract, excuse me again, sorry about that. Per the terms of the state contract and the Sourcewell contract, batteries of NC provided a total cost for the upfit equipment of $102,902.21. So this resolution awards a contract to Batteries of NC LLC for the purchase of equipment to upfit 15 Ford Interceptor police pursuit vehicles for use by the Sheriff's Office under the terms of the aforementioned North Carolina State and Sourcewell contracts in the total amount of $102,902.21. Yes, sir.
Clarification question. It mentions that the Batteries of North Carolina LLC was one of the contracts, and the other is the Sourcewell contract, which, are they some kind of parent companies or something? Because I noticed that the resolution is for the contract only to be with Batteries of NC, Batteries of North Carolina. So what is the relationship between Sourcewell and Batteries NC?
So Batteries of NC is also offering pricing under the Sourcewell contract that I mentioned for equipment. So their estimate was based upon pricing from the state contract as well as the Sourcewell contract.
So Sourcewell is like a independent bidder.
It's a cooperative purchasing program.
Cooperative purchasing group and NC BAS. So and the cooperative purchasing group, do they have a contract with the state under state purchasing, or is they're exempt? That's the reason they're kind of exempt from that, because they meet the requirements of a consortium kind of deal.
Right. They operate similar to like the Sheriff's Association does.
All right.
Sourcewell.
So how much? So why is the contract only with Batteries of NC?
Because their price for the equipment was based off of pricing from state contract as well as the Sourcewell contract. So they combine what the equipment they can offer each one of those contracts into their estimate, their one estimate.
Okay, so I don't want to belabor this, but we're buying some things from Batteries of NC, and we're buying some things from the Sourcewell contract.
It's all coming from Batteries of NC.
Just use the source. You only use the Sourcewell number, and Batteries of NC said we'll match that.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I didn't understand.
I'm still not. It seems to me if it's Sourcewell, they have a contract from the consortium to buy some of these things. So how does that all come from Batteries of NC? Since they're
Sourcewell is the consortium, I'm understanding.
I know Sourcewell, I got it. They are a consortium.
So Batteries of NC is getting their.
So Batteries of NC is buying from the bidding consortium, and but they also happen to hold a state price contract.
They're not buying from Sourcewell. They're using Sourcewell's pricing.
Pricing.
Right.
Okay, pricing. So Sourcewell is getting no money. No contractor in the consortium is getting any money. They're vendors.
The contractors that bid through Sourcewell will be getting the funds, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Yes. I'll let it go.
Sorry.
I'll just let it go.
Okay.
Matt?
Yes.
Sourcewell is a buying entity.
Yes.
It doesn't produce any products.
No,
it buys.
they bid. They bid among vendors to get a low price, and by doing that, they're allowed. We could buy from them without having to bid it.
Right. They make that.
But so is the state price contract. The state price contract is the same daggone thing. They collect bids and do things sent out. So they're two separate entities, both that collect vendors together. And that's why I'm not understanding the relationship between the two contracts. Sourcewell is a consortium, and the state price contract essentially is a consortium organizations.
So
they get-
Batteries of NC can get pricing from both of those. And they've offered both pricing from both entities to us for this equipment.
Okay, now that you said that in a way that part makes sense. They're getting their parts from, but they're getting the stuff from vendors because they're not Batteries of NC is not manufacturing all the stuff. They're getting from other.
That's correct.
Are they just a middleman? Is that what they are?
Essentially.
So why aren't we getting the stuff directly from the vendors that provide the contracts with North Carolina and Sourcewell? I mean, why do we need to go through, what was Batteries in North Carolina needed for?
They're on the bids for Sourcewell and the state contract.
The way it's being done is what we're getting the lowest price.
I think so.
Never mind how it's being done, is at the lowest price.
For the bids?
Yes.
Yes, those are the prices, yes.
Never mind. We're good. Like I said, I'm good.
Sorry. If I can follow up.
Trying to understand.
I understand. If I can follow up in any way, please let me know.
It's good enough.
All right, agenda item number 16 is a resolution authorizing procurement of air pollution monitoring equipment from Teledyne API under an exception to the bidding laws codified in the Forsyth County Federal Procurement Policy. Our EAP Director, Minor Burnett, will brief this item.
Good afternoon. The purpose of this item is to seek your consideration for approval of purchase of 8 pieces of technical air pollution monitoring equipment for our ambient outdoor air pollution monitoring network. The purchase will be from Teledyne API and has been pre-approved as a condition of the award of the federal funding that we've been awarded with no local matching requirement.
Got it. Good.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 17 is being moved to the January meeting. Agenda items 18 through 21 are tax refunds, or refunds by the tax assessor and collector, and then 22 through 27 are reports. We have our August and September and October appropriations transfer report, our October financial report, fuel surcharge franchise report, and a workforce development week report. And that is all of our agenda items, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We can stand adjourned. See you Thursday.